Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Sales Circle podcast. This is your sales podcast that is designed to help you improve your sales, whether you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, a business owner, what have I missed off there? A tradesman, a tradeswoman, a professional, a salesperson, a sales manager, right? If you have to sell or if you are looking to grow your business, if sometimes as well, if maybe you deal in customer service, this podcast is designed to help you enhance and hone those skills. My name is Rob Spence, an internationally renowned sales trainer, sales author, sales coach, the award-winning managing director of a fantastic sales and marketing agency called Paragon Sales Solutions. And I'm your host here of the Sales Circle podcast. And thank you for joining us as we slowly wrap up 2025 and quickly approach 2026. How scary, how daunting. And today's episode is very kept. It's very in keeping with where we're moving into. We're going to be talking about developing the skills needed for sales within 2026. Now, this episode will provide with you some of my predictions, some of my ideas, some of my thoughts around what we're going to face in 2026 and what's kind of happened in 2025 and what we can kind of see more of in the year to come. So listen, if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Just do us a favor, would you? Hit that follow button. If you're watching over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to bring you some fantastic content here, and we can't do that without you subscribing or following. So please do that. And of course, if you're on social media, which I'm sure you are, make sure you follow us over there. So without further ado, let's move on to the main part of the episode. Sales has changed dramatically over, goodness, the past decade, but most importantly, the past 12 months. The whole landscape in which we sell is changing literally by the day and in front of our own eyes. I own a sales and marketing company, and part of the big thing we offer is outbound sales and lead generation. And even at the time recording, nearly 8 years of business we've been in. The time has changed, and I've no doubt that when we hit a decade, absolutely, sales will have changed, and it's changing even more. And as we move into 2026, that's going to be changing even more. Of course, the big keynotes, the big things to discuss are things like AI and automation, the changing in buyer behavior and consumer behavior. And also as well, we cannot neglect that shift between remote sales teams and hybrid sales teams and different tactics and tricks that may have changed, and again, we're not talking decades here. We're talking, oh gosh, we nearly are. I just thought times have changed since 2020, thinking, it was a couple of years, 6 years ago nearly. 6 years ago. And look, that's the thing, right? Time is changing very quickly. And as we do enter in 2026, things are only going to change even more. As always, you should know by now, I love a statistic, because it's all well and good me providing you my thought piece, providing you my 10 pence or 10 cents. But what's the business world saying? What statistics have I been able to come up with? Well, McKinsey have come out to say that 88% of sales organizations are undergoing digital transformation. 79% of B2B buyers say their expectations have changed dramatically in the last 5 years. That was done by Salesforce. And LinkedIn's 2024 State of Sales report highlights soft skills like active listening, emotional intelligence, and problem solving are more important than product knowledge, which is a massive thing and stuff that I train in a lot of my one-to-one sales training, my group sales training, and online sales training. So put really simply, we need to start to evolve. You listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or maybe watching it over on YouTube, we need to change. We need to adapt. We need to move into this new era. And not only do we need to do that, we need to do it before everyone else does, right? We need to be ahead of the curve. So what are the core sales skills for 2026? What do we need to change? What do we need to adapt? What do we need to enhance? And how can we make sure that as we enter this new year, we are primed, ready to go to be the best of the best? Sales is always changing. Again, listen, my father was a salesperson. He's not dead. It sounded like he was then. He was a salesperson during his career, and the way in which he sold is going to be completely different to the way in which you and I sell now. And even I have no doubt, if we speak to, the B2B salespeople of yesteryear, again, the way in which they sell is completely different to the way we sell. As I turn around and look at my bookcase, there is a book somewhere called The Founder of Ray Kroc, who founded McDonald's as we know it today. And we know that back in his early days, he was a salesperson selling milkshake machines up and down the country. Again, the way in which he sold, not just the technology, but the sales skills and the sales tactics are completely different to how we sell now. And that 100% is going to change as we move into 2026. So what are the things that you need to know for this year ahead? Well, number one, for me, a massive thing, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is something that I've always trained in my sales training topics, because I think and I feel that salespeople need to have a hone not only of their own emotions, they need to understand the emotional setup and the emotional psyche of they themselves, but also of our customers as well. We need to understand emotions. We need to show empathy. We need to look for trigger points and all, like a whole array of things, right? Buyers want to be understood. They want to be heard. They want sellers who truly get them and the business that they represent and they work for. Emotional intelligence really helps with that. Again, emotional intelligence is something we sometimes overlook, but our buyers want us to understand them. They want us to understand their pains, their needs, their desires, the struggles sometimes. They don't just want to be sold to. And for me, that's the big difference right now. For us as salespeople, we need to, obviously, as I said earlier, understand our own emotions. We need to understand our emotional drivers. We need to understand when we're high. We need to understand when we're low. We need to understand why those feelings and emotions occur and what we can do to hone those emotions. But also, what can we do as a salesperson to pick up on tone, body language, and build trust? And this goes for both Zoom and face-to-face and telephone calls. Again, I want you to think about the relationships you've developed with people that sell to you, whether it's your hairdresser, whether it's your local store, whether it's your car mechanic, whether it's a salesperson that sold something into your business. What did that person do differently to win your business? And again, I believe that a lot of sales occur after a level of trust is built. And what better way to build a level of trust than hearing and understanding the needs, wants, and desires of our customers? I believe as well that salespeople need to understand data. Okay, I personally feel that the best salespeople in the world are great people, but they need to have some data fluency. Now, I'm not expecting you, don't panic, don't worry. I'm not expecting you to become a data scientist. I'm not asking you to become a data analytic, expert, right? But you need to understand your CRM. You need to track pipeline health. And you need to use those analytics to shape your whole pipeline and your process. In doing so, that will help you to understand your customers a bit better. It will help you to fine-tune your time. It will help you to understand where to invest your time wiser on those prospects that are more likely to buy. And it will help you understand your whole approach. So again, make sure you understand your data, understand your numbers. How many cold calls is it taking you to get an appointment? How many appointments is it taking for you to get to the proposal stage? How many proposals is it taking you to get a signed deal? How many follow-ups does it take on average to sign a deal? Even if you don't understand those numbers, I suggest go and learn them. Again, you don't have to be a data scientist. You just need to know your numbers. Now, again, we're going to talk about AI. AI has been a big thing we've talked about here on the podcast. I speak quite negatively about AI, okay? And hear me out on this. I see AI not as a threat, but as a tool. No different to how our forefathers changed farming. Before a combine harvester existed, people used to harvest by hand. It doesn't mean that we've suddenly lost all harvested. It just means that we're using now a tool to shape our lives better. I was watching an old video from the 60s, watching a man plaster a wall and putting plasterboard out. Again, the tools in which he was using, the techniques he was using were so different to what we use now. We've got better tools, but we still need plasterers. AI should be seen as a tool, not a threat. The best reps in the world use AI for research, for drafting outreach and sort of drafting communication when mind blanks and writer's block comes into place, and sometimes automating admin tasks and mediocre tasks. I want to make really clear my stance on AI here. AI for outreach, bad, don't do, horrendous, right? Humans want to buy from humans. If you are sending mass email marketing or mass LinkedIn messaging and just using AI to do it, bad. Right? How are you supposed to develop a relationship with your customer if you're not developing a relationship with your customer? Right? Don't do it. But make sure you're using AI and automation as part of your processes, as part of your admin processes, whatever you want it to be. Again, I think in 2026, we are going to see a full circle of going back to consultative selling, okay? Pushy pitches are gone, right? If anything, pushy pitches should have gone out in the 80s, and they did, and they came back again. Then they did, and then they came back again. And now with AI, we're seeing pushy pitches again, right? But again, I think in 2026, we're going to see more consultative selling. Now, for those of you that have never heard of the term consultative selling, I believe we have unleashed a full episode on this podcast about consultative selling. I could be wrong. But look, there's massive books written about consultative selling somewhere on here. I can't really see where. Consultative selling is all about solution-driven, needs-based selling, right? It's where you as a salesperson become a trusted consultant, a trusted advisor to whoever it is you're selling to, and you find the best solution for them. Your job as a salesperson is to become that trusted advisor, that person that can guide the sale, not push the sale. Back when I was selling fine food and ingredients, that is one thing that really stood me apart. My sales tactic to some degree was less about pushing the products that we could offer. It was more about helping the chefs and everyone else in between work out GPs, gross profit margins, and organizing their menu for the next couple of months, right? And sourcing the best products. I became a trusted advisor. So again, for 2026, I believe that the best salespeople out there who are going to do really well will be those that become those trusted advisors to the buyers. And again, I think we are going to see an absolute push once again on, I'll say the word social selling, but also just like digital communication, whether that be through email writing, video pitches, discovery calls. I think people are going to do away with email and just basic LinkedIn messages. Hence why I don't feel that AI is going to stand the test of time when it comes to outreach. Customers want to see who you are. Customers want to see who I am. Customers want to see and understand that you understand them. Again, that means that's putting you out in the forefront. So again, if you're not using social selling, if you're not using video, if you're not using audio notes, voice notes, then unfortunately, you're going to leave your competitor to go ahead and win. Now, before we kind of move on, let's recap though. So emotional intelligence, let's use this as a prediction for 2026. Let's come back on this episode one day and see if I was right. The big 5 things: emotional intelligence, data fluency, AI integration, but not outreach, consultative selling, and digital communication skills. For me, I believe they're going to be the top things. Now, of course, I was asked this actually the other day. They wanted a customer wanted to implement a sales training process internally, right? And how best to structure sales training. So maybe if you're listening to this and you want your team to pick up on these skills, how's best to implement and impart this wisdom? Well, for me, I think sales training should be ongoing. Weekly or monthly is a must, right? One-off sales training can work. I deliver one-off sales training to companies and it works. You get an initial hit. However, over time, that training goes. It gets dissolved. It gets missing. It gets lost in translation. It's got to be ongoing. I do believe as well that the best kind of training is blended. So I always think as well, the best training in the world is again, face-to-face, where you can look in the whites of someone's eyes. But can you offer e-learning, peer learning, and of course, those all-important in-person sessions? I do believe as well that any training that you give as we move into 2026 should be personalized and bespoke to the person you're training. Again, generic training just doesn't really cut the mustard. Again, I deliver and I offer online sales training, and I get messages every single week of people around the world thanking me for the training, and it works. But again, I believe that the best training resonates and imparts wisdom for your industry, for your sector. And finally, I think sometimes the best training has to be practical. We all hate cheesy role plays. We all hate it, but it's got to be immediately applicable. And sort of, again, real life scenarios by listening in on calls, listening in on everything else in between. It's got to be that way. So as we move into 2026, please, please, please make sure you're taking on board my 5 predictions. If you remain emotionally intelligent, understand your data, use AI to free up some of your time, become a consultant, and get really good at digital communication skills, 2026 is going to be an absolute killer year for you, the team you work with, and your business. Before we do move on, just a gentle reminder, we are proud to be partnered with Monday.com CRM. If you are looking for a highly intuitive, easy to use, fun to use CRM system that's very cost effective and pretty damn good, then Monday.com CRM system is probably the best for you. As a thank you for checking out the Sales Circle podcast, Monday.com have proudly given us a link that we can share with you that gives you some unique access, some little goodies, and a good look into how the CRM system works. So maybe you're looking at exploring a new CRM system that's highly intuitive with loads of AI and automation. Check out Monday.com CRM. Maybe you're a new business that's, again, looking for a new solution. Then Monday.com CRM is for you. If you want some free access and some free goodies, hit the link below. You'll see it in the audio description or the YouTube description if you're watching over on YouTube. Click that link, sign up today, and I'll see you on the other side. We now move on to the listeners' questions part of the podcast. This is a great question. This is a great part of the podcast that I always love. And if you do have any burning sales questions, thoughts, or comments, there's a number of ways in which you can do that. Either email in to thesalescircle@gmail.com. I think it is thesalescircle@gmail.com. I should have checked this before the podcast. Email in thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com, I think. Anyway, one of the two. Find me directly on LinkedIn. I'm Rob Spence. You can find me. You'll see a heavily photoshopped image. Or find us, the Sales Circle, anywhere on social media and send in those questions. We've had this one question from Alice who says, how can I train my team more consultatively without sounding robotic? Good question. For me, consultative selling isn't about being a robot, and it's not necessarily about scripts. For me, the best consultative sellers in the world are curious, and they ask questions, and they know by reading the buyer when to stop asking those questions and to offer the solution, right? We know that the best consultative sellers in the world will use the layering technique in questioning. They'll ask question after question after question, and they'll make sure that they get the right response and the right results. So my recommendation is sit down with the team. Make sure you come up with a select few questions that are really good. Think about some layering questions that will allow you to dig deeper, and train your team on what to look out for in terms of buying signals, and use that emotional intelligence to know when to stop asking questions. Because it can get annoying when you're pretty much ready to buy or you're ready to hear something. It's just another one and another one and another one. So train them up on that. This one comes in anonymously that says, we are investing in tech tools, well done, but reps are slow to adopt them. Any tips? Yeah, again, getting buy-in from any salesperson can be tough, especially when we think about technology, when we think about AI and automation as well, CRM systems. You've got to sell it to them, right? No different to you'd sell your business or your products, right? Use the benefits, show them what can be done. Celebrate the quick wins, and make sure, remember what we said earlier, that training is regular. If you just do one training session and expect everyone to pick things up, it's not going to work, right? People will pick things up separately. People will pick things up in their own time. Some people will be fast, some people will be slow. So make sure that any training is delivered again and again and again and again. You check in with regular one-to-ones, and again, sell the benefits, show the benefits, show what is capable using the system, and allow them to play. I personally feel some people are scared to use technology, they're scared of breaking something. Let them run wild with it. Let them loose with it. Let them break it. And then they'll be able to make up their own minds. And finally, this one is from Rana, who says, what's one future skill you think sales teams often ignore? Good question. I think the most important skill in sales I'm going to split it into two, actually. The most important skill in sales, in my opinion, that is often overlooked because it seems so basic. It seems so basic. Are questioning and listening. I believe that over the years, salespeople have gone into this awful bad habit of thinking that salespeople must talk. They must pitch. Here's my sales deck. Here are all my technological specifications. Here are all my features. And they talk themselves out of a sale. Again, I think the best skill, Rana, is of salespeople that they should be using and probably aren't, and we'll hopefully see a big trend again in 2026 and beyond, is listening and asking the right questions. Without the right questions, we can't listen. If we're not listening, we can't then ask the right questions. So sometimes, you salespeople out there, just learn to shut the hell up. But thanks so much for the questions. As always, if you have any questions for me, please do get in touch. Again, you can email in. Sorry, I should have remembered what the email address was. I think it's thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com, or contact me on social media. And I look forward to answering them on the next podcast. Every week, we choose a book from my glorious bookshelf that someone once said was green screen, which has upset me. It's not green screen, it's a real bookcase. Look, this man moves. Every week, I choose a book from this bookshelf, and I recommend it. It's a book that I would have read, and I believe that is good for everyone to read to help you enhance your business skills, your sales skills, and sometimes your overall life. As always, we'll put a link to these below for you to grab your own copy if you'd like. This week, we are calling out The Heart of Success by Rob Parsons. Now, this in particular isn't a sales book per se, but it's a great book for business owners, entrepreneurs, and those who do work in sales. Great write-up here from Jim Wright, who says, I would recommend CEOs to give this book to every manager in their company. Allow me, if I may, read the blurb. It says, Jack's father was one of the most successful entrepreneurs of his time. The only problem was that the old man had no time, no friends, and died early. The prospect of following in the family tradition seems less appealing to Jack, but on the first day of his MBA, he meets a retired professor who offers him a class that isn't exactly on the curriculum, how to make it in business without losing in life. Over a series of memorable evenings, this professor shares with Jack 7 laws that allows companies to flourish and create a success for individuals that's worth having. It's a fantastic read, and I remember it changed my whole mindset around success, especially when it comes to entrepreneurism and business owners. And I think, for me, to speak openly, we get caught up in the trap thinking that entrepreneurs should be up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, having the ice bath, never seeing their family. They should sacrifice. Even now, people sometimes wear it as a badge of honor that they work from 6 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, and their phone never leaves their side. And what a depressing way that is to live. And a film's come into my mind, and a film that makes me cry, genuinely makes me cry. Click, with Adam Sandler. I don't know if Adam Sandler wrote it, but with Adam Sandler. And for those that don't know, Adam Sandler wants to become a successful partner in his architecture firm, I think it is. And he comes across this magic man who gives him a remote control. And that remote control allows him to fast forward time because his heart is so set on being what he believes is a success. He wants to become successful and he wants to become this partner. But he wastes his life. He fast forwards, and yes, he wakes up, so to speak, as his partner. But he's lost everything. His wife has left him for another man. He's got no relationship with his parents. His children don't have any relationship with him, to the point where I believe, and spoiler alert if you've not watched it, I believe his father dies and he didn't have a chance to say goodbye. And I think that we as business owners, we as entrepreneurs sometimes get so caught up in making a living, we forget to live a life. And this book, I believe, will help you reset that mindset. Success isn't always about having the biggest car, about having the biggest office, about having the best suits, about having the best holidays. Sometimes success is about the smaller things. It's about time for you, taking time for you. It's about having time for your family, having time for your loved ones. Having all the money in the bank doesn't mean you've had the best life in the world. And I think this book will help you readjust that focus a little bit. So make sure you get a copy of this. I'll put the link in the comments or the show notes below. Pick up a copy and reevaluate what success means to you before it's too late. Gosh, that seemed deep, didn't it? That seemed really deep. But thank you so much for joining me on another episode of the Sales Circle podcast. Again, I think 2026 is going to be massive for sales, and I'll re-go over what my 5 predictions are. I believe emotional intelligence will be massive. Data fluency will be massive. AI integration, but not outreach, will be massive. Consultative selling will be back. And I believe that digital communication skills will be high. So make sure that you take those on board. And as we move into this new year, think, what can you do for yourself as a salesperson? What can you do for your team to make them enhance and hone down those skills? Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of the Sales Circle podcast. As you know by now, I don't want them to really last much longer than half an hour because you're busy. You're going into the office. You are going to your next sales meeting. You've got a life. you got to go see your kids. So I don't want to take up too much of your time. But before you go, don't go anywhere for 1 second. Please, please, please hit that follow button, hit the subscribe button over on YouTube. Make sure you're following us over on social media. We're slowly approaching the end of season 2, and I want to make season 3 absolutely massive. I want to make it wicked, and I can't do that without your help or your support. So please follow, please subscribe, and why not share this with 1 or 2 of your colleagues. Again, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Until next time, all the best. And that's it for another episode of the Sales Circle. Make sure you hit that follow button, join us over on social media, and we'll see you next week.